Our world is filled with endless noise and constant demands for our attention. We scroll through feeds, rush through tasks, and often feel our days slip by on autopilot. This leaves a deep, quiet longing for something more, a life that feels truly our own. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, wrote that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. This ancient insight points directly to a modern solution. Stoicism is not a dusty relic. It is a practical philosophy for reclaiming your focus and living with purpose. This exploration will uncover specific Stoic reflective practices that build the discipline needed for a more deliberate and intentional existence. What if the key was not about adding more to your life, but about reflecting more deeply on the life you already have? By the end, you will possess a clear framework for turning daily chaos into purposeful action. We will reveal how a simple evening ritual can rewire your reactions and why guarding your mind is the ultimate form of strength. What single shift in your daily routine could bring the greatest sense of clarity and control? Reflective discipline sounds like a stern taskmaster, but its true nature is far more compassionate. It is the structured practice of self-examination, a dedicated space in your day to pause and look inward. This is not about punishing yourself for mistakes. It is the core mechanism that allows Stoic wisdom to move from abstract idea to lived reality. The great Stoic teacher Epictetus urged his students to diligently examine their impressions, to not be swept away by the initial force of a feeling. He knew that an unexamined reaction often leads to regret, while an examined one builds character. This practice has deep roots. The Roman philosopher Seneca famously ended each day with a simple yet profound ritual. He would retreat to his quarters and ask himself 3 questions. What wrong did I correct today? What fault did I commit? What good did I do? This was his method of evening review, a way to sift through the events of the day and learn from them. Consider the modern equivalent of receiving a stressful email. The automatic, unexamined reaction might be to fire off an angry reply, a decision fueled by frustration. But with even a moment of reflective discipline, you create a pause. In that space, you can examine the impression of anger. You can ask if the email truly threatens your character or your peace of mind. This shift from reaction to reflection changes everything. It turns a potential conflict into an opportunity for practiced calm. Where in your own life does a routine feel so automatic that it happens without your conscious input? Perhaps it is the morning scroll through social media or the habitual concern about a future event. Identifying just one of these automatic loops is the first, powerful step toward reclaiming your intention. Your mind is your fortress. This powerful idea is central to Stoic philosophy, known as the Inner Citadel. It is that inviolable core within you, the space of your own judgment and your power to choose your response to any situation. No external event, no harsh word, no sudden change of plans can breach its walls without your permission. Reflective discipline is the daily practice of standing guard at its gates. It is how you decide what influences are allowed to enter and shape your inner world. Marcus Aurelius, who spent a lifetime ruling an empire amid immense pressure, constantly reminded himself of this truth. He wrote that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Every thought you entertain, every piece of information you consume, adds a shade to your inner life. This is not a mere metaphor, it is a practical reality. Think of your daily digital consumption. The news feeds you scroll, the notifications that ping for your attention, the endless stream of opinions and images. Each one is like a visitor knocking at the gate of your citadel. Without a guard on duty, the gates swing open freely. The chaotic noise of the world floods in, coloring your thoughts with unease, comparison, or distraction. Reflective discipline is that guard. It is the conscious choice to ask, is this thought serving my peace? Is this piece of information necessary for my purpose? It is the practice of curating your mental input with the same care you might curate a personal library, selecting only what enlightens and strengthens you. So take a moment and look at the gates of your own mind. What uninvited guests have you allowed entry to recently? Was it a cycle of concern about a situation you cannot influence, or perhaps the lingering tone of a comment that still echoes in your thoughts? Identifying these visitors is the first step in gently redirecting them and reclaiming the quiet sovereignty of your inner self. This fundamental question lies at the heart of Stoic practice. What is truly up to me and what is not? The dichotomy of control is the ultimate filter for intentional living, a simple but profound tool for sorting the chaos of our experiences. It cleanly separates our own actions, judgments, and desires from everything else that happens in the world. The Stoic teacher Epictetus stated this doctrine clearly at the very beginning of his teachings. He said that some things are within our power while others are not. Within our power are our opinions, our impulses, our desires, and our aversions. Everything not of our own doing, from our reputation to our health to the actions of others, lies outside it. Reflection is what makes this distinction clear and practical. It is the quiet space where you can look at a situation and begin to sort its components. Take a common modern frustration, a cancelled flight. The initial reaction is often a storm of emotion and stress. But through the lens of the dichotomy, you can pause and reflect. The airline's decision, the weather, the mechanical issue, these are not up to you. They lie firmly in the category of what you cannot control. What is up to you, however, is your judgment of the event, your decision to patiently find a solution, your choice to use the unexpected delay for reading or rest, your resolve to treat the airline staff with kindness despite your frustration. These are entirely within your power. This reflective sorting does not magically fix the situation, but it transforms your relationship to it. It frees your energy from resisting the unchangeable and redirects it toward what you can actually influence, your own response. So take a moment and bring to mind a current concern. Now, if you can, write it down, look at that concern and begin to gently categorize its elements. What parts of this situation are truly within your power to change? Your preparation, your effort, your attitude, and what parts are simply not, the final outcome, the decisions of other people, the passage of time. This simple act of writing and sorting is not just an exercise, it is the practice of reflective discipline in action, building the inner clarity for a life lived with far greater intention. This sorting process reveals a profound truth about our energy. We spend so much of it on what lies beyond our command, leaving little for the one domain we truly govern. A morning ritual can change that distribution entirely. The Stoics practiced a powerful exercise known as premeditatio malorum, the thoughtful preparation for challenges. This is not a descent into gloom, but a strategic rehearsal for the day ahead. Seneca advised his readers to ponder every possibility and to fortify the spirit against the unexpected long before it arrives. He saw this as a way to soften potential hardships of their sting. Think of it as a mental fire drill. You are not wishing for a fire, you are simply preparing your response so that if one occurs, you act with clarity instead of panic. Your modern version of this could be remarkably simple. Before your day begins, take just 5 minutes in a quiet space. Choose one upcoming event that carries a hint of stress, perhaps a difficult conversation or a complex project. Now close your eyes and visualize it unfolding not as a catastrophe, but as an opportunity to practice your Stoic virtues. See yourself encountering a delay or hearing a critical comment. Then watch your ideal self responding not with frustration but with patience, not with defensiveness but with calm understanding. You are rehearsing your own character. This mental run-through does not magically prevent obstacles, but it builds a resilient pathway in your mind. When the real situation arrives, your response is not a raw, untested reaction. It is a choice you have already practiced, a path you have already walked in your mind. Tomorrow morning, before you check your phone or start your routine, try this for just one single event. What might change if you began your day not by reacting to the world, but by proactively preparing your inner world for it? As night falls, the day becomes your greatest teacher. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, perfected a simple evening ritual to learn from its lessons. He believed each day should be brought to a close with a gentle reconciliation with oneself. In his writings on emotion, he describes this process not as a difficult trial, but as a peaceful review. He would ask his soul if it had moved past its pleasures or grievances, what good it had done, and where it could grow. This nightly examination was his method of ensuring no day passed without a gain in self-understanding. The goal is compassionate course correction, a way to gently steer your life back toward your chosen virtues without any trace of self-judgment. A modern version of this practice can be beautifully simple. Find a quiet moment before sleep and ask yourself just 3 questions. First, what did I do well today? Where did I act with patience or courage? Second, where did I act against my own principles, perhaps speaking too quickly or avoiding a necessary task? And third, how can I carry this awareness into tomorrow to act with even more intention? This is not about keeping score, it is about building a deeper connection with your own progress. So bring to mind your own day. What was one single moment where you felt fully present and intentional in your actions, and one moment where you reacted without full awareness? This honest, gentle reflection is the quiet work that transforms passing days into a meaningful life. Our thoughts can feel like an unstoppable current, but Stoicism offers a profound shift in perspective. You are not the rushing water, you are the steady bank observing its flow. This is the practice of cognitive distancing, a technique that creates vital space between an impulse and your reaction. Marcus Aurelius captured this beautifully when he wrote that our life is what our thoughts make it. He reminded himself that thoughts are fleeting, mere visitors in the mind, and that we have the power to let them pass without giving them a home. This is not about suppressing what you feel, but about changing your relationship to it. The next time a wave of frustration or concern arises, try this simple reframe. Instead of declaring, "I am angry," pause and say to yourself, "I am having the thought that I am angry." This slight shift in language creates an immediate separation. You are no longer fused with the emotion, you are the conscious awareness noticing it. This space is where your power resides. It is the difference between being a passenger swept along by every mental storm and being the pilot who can steady the course. Think of it as taking a step back to get a view from above, seeing the larger landscape of your mind without getting lost in its temporary weather. This practice builds intentionality by turning automatic reactions into conscious choices. For the rest of today, make a quiet agreement with yourself. When a negative or anxious thought next appears, your only task is to notice it. Do not argue with it, do not follow it, and certainly do not judge yourself for having it. Simply observe its arrival, label it gently as a passing thought, and let it continue on its way. This simple act of observation is the essence of reflective discipline, quietly strengthening your ability to live from a place of choice, not chance. Love your fate. This powerful command is the essence of Amor Fati, a Stoic principle that moves far beyond mere acceptance into a profound embrace of reality. It is the decision to welcome every event, every obstacle, and every twist of your unique path as a necessary part of your story. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius constantly reinforced this idea to himself, writing that a blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it. He saw the wise individual in the very same way, using every single circumstance, even the most difficult ones, as fuel for their inner strength and purpose. Reflective discipline is the quiet practice that makes this embrace possible. It is the space where you can look at a setback, a disappointment, or a sudden change of plans and consciously choose to reframe it. You ask not why did this happen to me, but what can this make of me? This is not about pretending that hardship feels good, but about recognizing that it often forges the most resilient parts of our character. Consider the story of the philosopher Epictetus. He was born into a life of hardship and spent his youth in servitude, a personal challenge for anyone, a situation that could easily have led to a different outlook. Yet, through his philosophical practice, he did not just endure his circumstances, he used them. His first-hand understanding of limitation and lack of control became the very foundation of his powerful teachings on inner freedom. His personal journey, however challenging, became the raw material for his lasting legacy. His difficulties were not roadblocks, they were the road itself. Now bring to mind one recent difficulty in your own life, something that felt like an interruption or a setback. It could be a project that did not go as planned or an unexpected personal challenge. For a moment, set aside the initial frustration and gently ask what hidden gift might be contained within this experience. Did it reveal a hidden strength you did not know you possessed? Did it redirect you toward a more authentic path? Did it simply teach you the value of patience? Brainstorm just one way this event could be viewed not as an enemy to your peace, but as a strange and unexpected teacher. This simple act of reframing is the heart of loving your fate, transforming the raw material of your life into a narrative of purpose and growth. A blazing fire makes flame from everything thrown into it, and so does a resilient mind. This strength is not born from endless comfort, but from the deliberate choice to occasionally step away from it. The Stoics called this voluntary discomfort, a practice of willingly embracing minor hardships to fortify your spirit against life's inevitable challenges. This is not about punishing the body or rejecting life's simple pleasures. It is a reflective exercise, a form of training that makes you less dependent on external conditions for your peace of mind. The philosopher Musonius Rufus taught that practice is the most effective teacher, and that we must train ourselves to be comfortable with less than we have. He saw this as the path to true self-sufficiency. The goal is to prove to yourself through direct experience that you can handle difficulty with grace. When you voluntarily choose a small discomfort, you drain a future involuntary hardship of its power to disturb you. Think of it as taking your inner resilience to the gym. You would not try to lift a heavy weight for the first time during an emergency. You would train for it gradually. Your peace of mind deserves the same preparation. Modern life offers countless gentle ways to practice. You might choose to take a cooler shower, not for any health trend, but for the mental clarity that follows the initial shock. You could decide to skip a meal and sit with the sensation of hunger, discovering that it is a temporary feeling, not a crisis. Or you might walk to an errand instead of driving, intentionally creating space to notice your surroundings without the usual buffer of convenience. After each small act, the crucial step is reflection. How did it feel? Were you able to maintain your inner calm? What did you learn about your own capacity? This reflection transforms a simple act of denial into a profound lesson in self-reliance. So ask yourself this reflective question: what single comfort do I rely on that, if it were suddenly lost, would cause me significant distress? Is it the constant availability of warm food, the immediate comfort of a digital device, or perhaps the predictable routine of a perfectly climate-controlled environment? How could you practice a gentle independence from it, just for a short while, to remind yourself that your core peace does not reside in that external thing? This practice builds a quiet confidence, a deep knowing that you are more resilient than your circumstances. Your personal struggles exist on a single speck of dust, orbiting a minor star in a forgotten corner of an unimaginably vast cosmos. This is the essence of the view from above, a powerful Stoic meditation practiced by Marcus Aurelius to dissolve the illusion that his immediate problems were the center of the universe. He would deliberately turn his mind to the stars and the earth, contemplating the countless cities and lives that had come and gone, all transformed into memory and story. He was not diminishing his own life, but rather putting it into its true, proper perspective. The goal of this mental exercise is not to make you feel insignificant, but to make your anxieties feel manageable. When you feel overwhelmed by a conflict at work or a personal disappointment, this practice creates a profound sense of space. Imagine your specific problem, the one that feels so heavy and immediate. Now, in your mind's eye, begin to pull back. See yourself in the room, then see the building, then the city. Watch as the city becomes a tiny dot on the landscape. The landscape curves into a continent, and the continent spins on a blue and white marble floating in the quiet expanse of space. From that vantage point, your problem does not vanish, but its scale is irrevocably altered. The sharp words spoken in a meeting, the project that fell behind schedule, the social slight that stung, all of it is happening on that tiny, distant marble. This cosmic perspective is the ultimate tool for reflective discipline, forcing a recalibration of what truly deserves your limited energy and attention. The next time a wave of overwhelm crashes over you, pause for just 60 seconds and take this mental flight. Zoom out from the tight focus on your frustration and see the larger picture of your life, your community, and the long flow of human history. What concern, when viewed from this stellar distance, still feels as monumental as it did up close? This is not about escaping your responsibilities, but about facing them with a clearer, calmer mind, finally able to focus your intention on what genuinely matters. Our peace is shattered not by the world itself, but by the stories we tell about it. Every event arrives in our mind as a raw impression, a simple fact, but we quickly paint it with judgment, transforming a neutral occurrence into a personal offense or a difficult moment. The Stoic discipline of assent is the crucial practice of intercepting that process. It is the conscious pause between receiving an impression and giving it your full belief. Epictetus offered clear guidance on this, stating that we are not disturbed by what happens to us, but by our views about what happens. That space between event and judgment is where your freedom truly lies. Consider the moment you receive thoughtful feedback, perhaps on a project you worked hard to complete. The initial, raw impression is simply a collection of words. But the immediate, unexamined judgment that rushes in whispers, this is a personal critique, I am not good enough. If you assent to that first, fiery interpretation, you are swept into a river of defensiveness and hurt feelings. The discipline of assent asks you to pause right there. You examine the impression, you question its validity. Is it truly a critique, or is it simply information, however poorly delivered? You can then choose to assent to a more rational, constructive judgment. This is not an opportunity for failure, it is a chance to learn and improve. This shift in your inner assent changes your entire outer reality. It transforms a potential conflict into a quiet conversation, a moment of growth. Think back over your last few days. Can you recall a single instance where you felt a sudden spike of frustration or offense? In that moment, what was the initial impression, and what judgment did you immediately attach to it? That simple act of recollection is the beginning of building this profound discipline, the power to choose your truth rather than being chosen by it. Your thoughts become clearer the moment you give them a physical form. A Stoic journal is precisely that, a dedicated space where the inner work of reflective discipline takes shape in ink and paper. This is not about keeping a diary of daily events, but about creating a structured tool for thoughtful self-examination. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius left us the most powerful example of this practice. His personal writings, known today as meditations, were never intended for public view. They were his private journal, a steady conversation with himself where he rehearsed Stoic principles, challenged his own judgments, and strengthened his character amid the immense pressures of leading an empire. He was writing to remind himself of his own humanity, his duties, and the temporary nature of all things. Seneca also championed the value of writing to oneself, noting that the very act of putting pen to paper brings a certain clarity and order to scattered thoughts. When you write something down, you give it form. You take a swirling, subjective feeling and place it outside of yourself, where you can observe it with a calmer, more thoughtful eye. Is this concern truly as large as it feels, or does it seem smaller when captured in simple words? Is this judgment fair, or is it an exaggeration born of a passing mood? Journaling provides a tangible record of your progress, a map of your inner world that you can look back on to see how far you have truly come. There are several simple styles you can adopt, each rooted in a Stoic aim. A gratitude log shifts your focus to the good that is already present, training your mind to embrace your circumstances. A virtue tracking journal, where you briefly note each evening where you practiced courage or moderation, turns abstract ideals into daily actions. The barrier to starting is often the belief that it requires lengthy, profound entries. It does not. Begin with the commitment to write just one sentence each day. Let that single sentence capture a moment you practiced a Stoic principle. It could be as simple as, "Today I accepted the delay with patience," or "I remembered that my opinion is within my control." This tiny, consistent act builds the muscle of reflection more effectively than any sporadic, lengthy effort. Your journal is your own private classroom, and every sentence you write is a lesson you are teaching yourself. Freedom is the right to not be conquered by anything outside your own will. This powerful statement from Epictetus points directly toward a state the Stoics called Apatheia, a term often misunderstood in our modern language. This is not the cold emptiness of apathy. It is the profound inner calm that comes from not being overthrown by irrational emotions. It is the quiet mastery over the feelings that so often cloud our judgment and steer our actions off course. Reflective discipline is the essential tool for cultivating this tranquility. By creating that vital space for self-examination, you learn to identify the specific thoughts that act as fuel for these emotional responses. Think of a time you felt a surge of anxiety about an upcoming presentation. The unexamined reaction is to be swept away by the feeling, your mind painting vivid pictures of difficulty and awkwardness. But with reflective discipline, you pause. You turn toward the anxiety and gently question the judgments behind it. What is the underlying belief? Perhaps it is the idea that your entire worth is tied to this single performance, or that any mistake will feel overwhelming. When you bring these hidden assumptions into the light, their power begins to fade. You can then challenge them with a more balanced perspective. You are not your presentation. A stumble in your delivery does not define your character. This process does not eliminate the feeling, but it strips it of its disruptive force, allowing you to channel that energy into focused preparation instead of paralyzing fear. This is the path to true emotional stability, where your actions spring from intention, not from being hijacked by a passing storm inside. So take a quiet moment and ask yourself, what feeling most often clouds your own judgment? Is it a flash of frustration, an undercurrent of wanting, or a familiar concern? And then look a little deeper. What is the single underlying belief that gives that feeling its persistent strength? The perfect shot is not defined by where the arrow lands, but by the archer's focused intention as they release the bowstring. This ancient Stoic analogy, beautifully articulated by the Roman orator Cicero in his work on ends, offers a masterclass in intentional living. Cicero describes a skilled archer whose ultimate goal is to do all within their power to shoot well. The archer focuses completely on their stance, their aim, and the smooth release of the arrow. Yet, once the arrow is in flight, its path is subject to a sudden gust of wind, an unexpected movement of the target, or simple chance. To hit the target is desirable, but the true good, the thing that defines the archer's character, was the excellence of their effort. The actual outcome is a preferred result, but not the source of their virtue or their peace. This is the blueprint for a life of purpose. Your intention, your effort, your integrity in the process, these are your aim. The final result, the applause, the profit, the specific outcome, that is the target, subject to 1,000 external factors you cannot command. Apply this to the modern goal of starting a business. The unexamined approach is to fixate on the target, on immediate success measured by revenue or viral growth. This fixation makes your inner peace dependent on market trends, investor interest, or competitor actions, none of which are within your direct control. The Stoic approach, however, focuses on the quality of your aim. Did you do your very best work today? Did you serve your customers with integrity? Did you learn from a mistake and adapt your process? Were your actions aligned with your core principles? This is the territory you wholly govern. When you pour your energy into the excellence of your effort, you build a foundation of self-respect that no business outcome can diminish. The venture may succeed or it may not, but you, the archer, remain grounded, having practiced virtue through the entire endeavor. So bring to mind one of your own current goals. Now take a moment to gently separate the two elements. What is the aiming, the part that is entirely up to you? Your preparation, your daily discipline, the energy you bring to the task. And what is the target, the external result you hope for but cannot guarantee? The promotion, the specific number, the recognition from others. By making this conscious separation, you reclaim your power, directing your precious intention toward the one thing that always matters most, the quality of your own shot. Remember, you will one day reach the end of your journey. This simple phrase is the heart of Memento Mori, a Stoic practice that is not about fear, but about liberation. It is a reflective tool designed to strip away the trivial and illuminate what truly matters in the limited time we have. Marcus Aurelius wrote frequently of this, urging himself to remember how brief life is, a mere instant, and how the time assigned to us is swiftly poured out. He used this thought not to fall into sorrow, but to rise with a sense of urgent purpose. The reflection on our own finite existence is the ultimate lens for bringing our daily choices into sharp focus. It asks a simple, profound question: is this how I would choose to spend my day if I knew it was one of my last? This perspective instantly reorders our priorities. The petty argument that felt so important yesterday loses its weight. The grudge we have been carrying for years seems like a pointless burden. The meaningful conversation we keep postponing, the creative project we keep putting off for a more convenient time, these things suddenly demand our immediate attention. Memento mori is the quiet voice that reminds us there is no perfect, distant future in which to finally begin living. There is only now, so let that question settle for a moment. If you knew for certain you had 1 year left to live, what single thing would you start doing today, and what would you courageously stop? The answer does not require a dramatic change of your entire life. It might simply mean making that phone call you have been avoiding, finally writing the first sentence of your book, or choosing to let go of a resentment that no longer serves you. This remembrance is not a threat. It is the kindest possible invitation to live with the gratitude and intention your one precious life deserves. Stoic wisdom is the compass that guides you through the fog of daily choice. It is not merely intelligence or cleverness, but the profound ability to distinguish what is genuinely good from what merely appears desirable. Seneca drew this line with elegant clarity, writing that wisdom is always accompanied by joy, for one does not enter into wisdom and leave it in sadness. True wisdom, in the Stoic sense, is the deep knowing that the only real good is a virtuous character. Everything else, from physical health to financial comfort, falls into the category of preferred indifference. We may prefer to have them, and it is natural to seek them, but they are not in themselves good because they can be taken away. Your moral purpose, however, cannot be. Reflective discipline is the daily polishing of this lens. It is the habit of pausing to ask, in any situation, what action aligns with courage, justice, moderation, and wisdom itself. This constant returning to your core values is what sharpens your discernment over time. Consider a pivotal career choice. You are offered a promotion that comes with a significant increase in status and income, a preferred indifferent that the world applauds. Yet accepting it would require you to compromise a deeply held principle, perhaps by overseeing a project you believe is ethically questionable. The path of cleverness rationalizes the compromise, focusing on the external reward. The path of wisdom, honed by reflection, asks a different question: which choice allows me to act with integrity, the unshakable good? The former seeks validation from the outside, the latter builds character from within. Bring to mind a recent decision of your own, large or small. When you made your choice, what was the true compass guiding you? Was it an internal sense of what was right, or was it the magnetic pull of what others would think or what you stood to gain? This honest reflection is not about judgment, but about awakening the virtue of wisdom, training yourself to see the difference between the glitter of a preferred thing and the steady light of a good life. True courage is not the absence of fear, but the resolve to act rightly in its presence. This Stoic virtue calls us to persist in doing what is just and necessary, even when every instinct whispers to retreat into comfort or conformity. Reflective discipline is the quiet space where this choice is made, a moment of self-examination where you can identify the fear-based impulse and consciously choose a different, more intentional path. The great teacher Epictetus defined courage as the knowledge of what is to be feared and what is not. He saw that most of our anxieties are rooted in illusions, in a misplaced value on things outside our control, like other people's opinions or the outcome of a single event. Real courage is the wisdom to fear only one thing: the compromise of your own character. Consider the common scenario of a team meeting. An idea is being championed that you believe is misguided or even ethically questionable. The easy, comfortable path is to remain silent, to nod along and avoid any potential conflict or social friction. The impulse to stay quiet is a fear-based reaction, a desire for external approval and safety. But in your moment of reflection, you can identify that impulse for what it is. You can then choose the courageous path, which is not about grand, confrontational speeches, but about speaking your thoughtful truth with respect and clarity. Your action is not guaranteed to change the outcome, but it affirms your integrity, and that is the entire point of the exercise. Your character remains unshaken. Now bring to mind one small, courageous action you have been quietly avoiding. Perhaps it is a difficult conversation you need to initiate, a creative project you are afraid to start, or simply the act of setting a boundary to protect your time and energy. What single step could you take today, however small, that would align your outer action with your inner knowing? This is not about a dramatic gesture, but the quiet, daily practice of building a life where your choices are guided by principle, not by apprehension. Your character is forged not in isolation, but in your connection to others. Stoic justice extends far beyond the courtroom, defining our fundamental duty to contribute to the common good and treat every person with inherent fairness. This virtue asks us to reflect deeply on our interconnectedness, a principle the Stoics called sympatheia, which views the world as a single, living organism where every part supports the whole. Marcus Aurelius captured this duty with elegant simplicity, writing that we were born for community, like feet, like hands, like eyelids, like the rows of upper and lower teeth. To act against one another is unnatural, and to turn away from others is to act against our own nature. Reflection on this interconnected web transforms justice from an abstract ideal into a daily, intentional practice. It is the quiet moment you pause to consider how your actions, however small, ripple through the human community you are a part of. Imagine you are facing a pressing deadline, your schedule is packed, and a colleague approaches with a question that seems to interrupt your flow. The automatic reaction might be to offer a quick, dismissive answer, protecting your own time and focus. But with a moment of reflective discipline, you can see the situation through the lens of sympatheia. This person is not an interruption to your work, they are a part of your shared purpose. Choosing to stop, to listen fully, and to offer genuine help is not just being nice, it is an act of Stoic justice. It is your social duty in action, affirming the bonds of your shared humanity. This week, where can you practice this more intentional justice in your own interactions? It might be patiently listening to a family member instead of rushing to your phone, or consciously offering your full attention to a cashier or a delivery driver. Each small, deliberate act of fairness and contribution quietly strengthens the entire web, beginning with your own place within it. Temperance is the quiet strength that knows when enough is enough. In the Stoic framework, this is the virtue of moderation, the practiced art of self-restraint that governs our desires and impulses. It is not about denial for its own sake, but about finding the balanced center in all things, from our consumption to our ambitions. The Stoic teacher Musonius Rufus spoke directly to this, arguing that in eating and drinking one should choose not what is most pleasing, but what is most useful. He saw moderation in our most basic physical needs as the foundational training for a disciplined mind. This is where reflective discipline becomes your inner compass. It is the practice of noticing when you are drifting toward excess and consciously choosing to pull back, to return to that intentional center. Consider your relationship with the endless scroll of social media. The initial impulse is to keep refreshing, to consume just one more piece of information, one more entertaining clip. It feels harmless in the moment. But without the guard of temperance, minutes become an hour, and you are left with a vague sense of mental clutter and lost time. Reflective discipline creates that vital pause. It allows you to notice the impulse to continue scrolling and ask a simple question. Is this still serving a purpose, or am I merely acting on an automatic habit? Choosing to close the app at that moment is not an act of deprivation. It is an act of self-command. It is you reclaiming your attention and directing it towards something you have consciously chosen. This same principle applies to food, to spending, to work, or to any pursuit where more is not always better. So turn your gaze inward for a moment. Where in your own life does a subtle lack of temperance create a sense of imbalance? Is it in the extra 30 minutes of sleep that makes you rush your morning, the second serving that leaves you feeling heavy, or the constant checking of news that fuels a low hum of anxiety? Identifying that single point of excess is the first, powerful step toward restoring your own natural equilibrium. The obstacle is the way. This famous Stoic maxim reveals a radical shift in perception, one that transforms every barrier into a path forward. Reflective discipline trains your vision to see not the brick wall in front of you, but the hidden doorway within it. Marcus Aurelius put it perfectly when he wrote that an impediment to action advances the action, and what stands in the way becomes the way. He was not ignoring hardship, but recognizing it as the raw material for building resilience and purpose. Your perception of a challenge is the very thing that determines whether it breaks you or builds you. When you encounter a major setback like a sudden professional rejection, the initial unexamined perception screams failure. It feels like a full stop, a confirmation of your worst fears. But with the practice of reflective discipline, you pause to question that first impression. You can choose to reframe the event. This rejection is not a barrier to my career. It is the way to discovering a more aligned direction. It is an opportunity to practice the virtue of perseverance, to strengthen my humility, and to clarify what I truly value in my work. This reframing is the essence of an intentional life, where you cease to be a victim of circumstance and become the author of your response. History offers a powerful example in Cato the Younger, a staunch defender of the Roman Republic. He spent his entire political life in a difficult struggle against the rise of Julius Caesar, witnessing the slow transformation of the system he cherished. In his final moments, rather than surrender his principles, he chose a different path. He made his own transition a final, powerful statement of his commitment to liberty. His opponents may have won the political war, but Cato secured a moral victory that would be remembered for centuries, his integrity becoming a legendary symbol of Stoic resolve. His greatest obstacle became the very thing that cemented his legacy. Now bring to mind a current obstacle in your own life, something that feels like a frustrating block. It could be a strained relationship, a financial limitation, or a personal goal that feels out of reach. For a moment, set aside the story of why it is a problem. Gently ask yourself, how could this very thing be the way? What virtue is it inviting me to practice? Is it calling for my patience, my creativity, or perhaps my courage to have a difficult conversation? This simple act of perceptual alchemy does not make the obstacle disappear, but it empowers you to walk straight through it, forged stronger by the journey. We all navigate our days without a perfect model to guide us, a thought Seneca found deeply troubling. He wrote that the foolish person does not have a target to aim for, and therefore cannot hit it. The Stoics offered a solution in the form of the sage, an imaginary figure of perfect wisdom and virtue. This ideal is not meant to be a human being you could ever meet, nor is it a standard for you to punish yourself with when you fall short. The sage is a North Star, a fixed point in the moral sky by which you can calibrate your own compass. This mental figure embodies flawless judgment, unwavering courage, and complete inner peace, always choosing the action that aligns with nature and reason. The immense power of this concept lies in a single, reflective question. In a moment of confusion, anger, or temptation, you can pause and ask yourself, what would the sage do in this situation? This is not about comparing your imperfect self to a perfect ideal. It is about creating a moment of space to access the most wise and virtuous part of your own nature. Imagine you are about to engage in a difficult conversation where emotions are running high. Your initial impulse might be to speak sharply to defend your position. But if you first pause and invoke the sage, you create a brief mental intermission. You step outside of your immediate reaction and consult this inner counsel of wisdom. The sage would not respond with petty anger, but with calm, clear speech aimed at understanding. The sage would listen first, seeking the truth rather than seeking to win. This simple act of questioning instantly elevates your perspective, guiding you toward a more intentional and principled response. To make this practice your own, choose a figure, real or imagined, who embodies wisdom for you. It could be a historical philosopher, a respected mentor, or even a fictional character from a meaningful story. The key is that this figure represents the qualities you aspire to embody. The next time you face a challenging decision or a frustrating delay, bring this figure to mind. Ask what course of action they would take. Their imagined answer will not be a rigid command, but a gentle nudge toward your own better judgment, a quiet reminder of the person you are continually choosing to become. The Stoics saw the entire cosmos as a single, rational, and living entity. To live in accordance with nature was their ultimate goal, which meant aligning your personal will with this universal reason. It is the practice of understanding and accepting the fundamental structure of reality, rather than exhausting yourself by fighting against its currents. The founder of Stoicism, Zeno, is said to have described this universal reason as a sacred fire that intelligently designs and permeates all of existence. Your reflective discipline is the tool that brings this grand philosophy down to a human scale. It is the quiet practice of asking, in any given situation, what does reality actually require of me right now? This is not passive resignation, but an active and intelligent cooperation with the way things are. Think of a seasoned sailor on a vast ocean. The unwise sailor curses the wind and struggles against the current, draining their energy and making little progress. The thoughtful sailor, however, studies the wind and the waves. They learn to adjust their sails, to use the current's own power to carry them forward. They work with reality, not against it, and in doing so, they find a profound and effortless flow. Your own life presents the very same choice in countless ways. Are you fighting a personal current right now? Perhaps you are resisting a necessary transition, like a job or a relationship that has run its natural course. Maybe you are struggling against an unchangeable fact, like the passage of time or the shifting seasons of life. Or it could be something as simple as your frustration with a rainy day that canceled your outdoor plans. In each case, reflective discipline creates the space to notice your resistance. It allows you to consciously shift from struggling against the wind to adjusting your sails. Where in your life are you currently playing the part of the struggling sailor, exhausting yourself by fighting a reality you cannot change? What single, gentle adjustment could you make today to instead begin working with it? Gratitude in the Stoic sense is a deliberate act of seeing. It is the trained ability to look at your life exactly as it is and actively acknowledge the good that is already present, especially the capacity for reason and virtue that makes a meaningful life possible. This is not a passive feeling that occasionally washes over you, but a reflective discipline that builds contentment from the inside out. Marcus Aurelius left us a stunning example of this practice in his personal writings. He began one entry not by listing his power or wealth as emperor, but by compiling a thoughtful list of appreciation for the people and qualities in his life. He expressed thanks for his grandfather's good character, for his mother's teaching of piety and generosity, and even for the fact that he did not waste too much time on trivial pursuits. He was actively training his mind to see the gifts woven into the very fabric of his existence, many of which were completely non-material. This practice shifts your focus from what you lack to the abundance you already possess. It is a conscious rebellion against the human tendency to take the ordinary for granted. Your ability to think, to choose kindness, to appreciate a moment of quiet, even the simple functioning of your body, these are not small things. They are the fundamental gifts that a Stoic would recognize as the true wealth of a human life. A simple way to weave this into your own day is to end it by mentally listing just 3 non-material things you are grateful for. It could be the patience you showed in a trying moment, the clarity of a thought that came to you, or the simple comfort of a deep breath. This is not about ignoring hardship, but about balancing your perspective so that difficulty does not monopolize your vision. So as you sit here now, ask yourself this reflective question: what ordinary thing are you taking for granted right now that a Stoic would see as a gift? Our world is a marketplace of constant noise, a relentless current of sound and stimulation that leaves little room for your own thoughts to breathe. The Stoics understood the profound value of stepping away from this external clamor to find the clarity that only exists in quietude. Solitude is not the same as loneliness. It is the deliberate choice to create an open space where your inner voice can finally be heard. Seneca wrote beautifully about this need to retreat into oneself, to become a faithful and caring friend to your own soul. He believed that once you have reconciled with yourself, you will find all other relationships more harmonious. This is because solitude is where you meet your truest self, the part of you that exists beyond social roles and daily demands. It is in this quiet that you can consult your inner guide, the faculty of your own reason, without the distortion of outside opinions. A practical way to begin is by reclaiming small pockets of your day from the noise. Try taking a daily walk without headphones, allowing your mind to wander and process without a constant stream of input. Or commit to just 5 minutes of sitting in stillness, perhaps with your morning coffee, doing nothing but observing your breath and the gentle rhythm of your own presence. The goal is not to achieve a blank mind, but to create a sanctuary where your thoughts can settle and your intentions can realign. This week, can you schedule one single, short period of intentional solitude? It might feel unusual at first, like an unfamiliar pause in a conversation, but in that very space, you give your reflective discipline the quiet it needs to work, building a more intentional life from the inside out. Your mental energy is a precious resource, and where you choose to invest it defines the quality of your days. A powerful modern Stoic tool for this is the circle of concern, a way to visualize all the things that capture your attention. Picture 3 concentric rings. The vast outer ring holds everything you care about but cannot control, from world events to the daily choices of other people. The middle ring contains what you can influence but not command, like a team project's outcome or a friend's final decision. And at the very center, small and potent, lies your inner circle, the only domain you directly control, your own judgments, your actions, and your responses. This model brings the ancient words of Epictetus to life, reminding us that our power lies solely in what is up to us. Reflective discipline is the daily practice of noticing when your energy has drifted to the outer rings and consciously pulling it back home. Consider a common source of stress like the well-being of a family member. You naturally care deeply, and their situation sits in your circle of concern. The outer ring holds their specific choices and the ultimate path things take, which you cannot control. The middle ring might involve your influence, offering support and sharing helpful perspectives. But your inner circle, your true territory, contains only your own response, your compassion, your patience, and the peace you choose to maintain regardless of the situation. By continually drawing your focus back to this center, you stop exhausting yourself by trying to manage the unmanageable and start investing in the one thing that always matters, your own virtuous action. Take a moment and draw this circle for yourself. Think of one current concern and map its elements onto the rings. Where are you spending the majority of your mental energy right now? Is it in the turbulent outer rings or within your own calm center? This simple act of mapping is not just an exercise, it is the very practice of reclaiming your intention. A desire is simply a signal from within, a natural pull toward something we perceive as good. Yet so many of our wants are not natural at all, but creations of our own faulty judgment, amplified by a world that profits from our endless wanting. The Stoic discipline of desire is the reflective practice of examining these impulses, of sorting the true needs from the manufactured ones, and reforming our wants to align only with what is genuinely good, a virtuous character and a rational mind. The great teacher Epictetus offered clear guidance on this, stating that wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few desires. He knew that an unlimited want is a direct path to lasting disappointment, for it chains your happiness to things you cannot command. Consider the modern desire for social media approval, the subtle craving for likes and shares. This is not a natural human need, it is a judgment, a belief that external validation is a genuine good. Contrast this with the desire to create meaningful work, to contribute something of value from a place of authentic skill and care. The first desire makes you a servant to the opinions of others, your peace rising and falling with every notification. The second is an expression of your own reason and capability, a good that is entirely within your power to cultivate. The discipline lies in that moment of reflection, when the impulse to seek validation arises. You pause and ask, what is the root of this desire? Is it a wish to connect, or is it a fear of being overlooked? Does this want align with my core value of self-reliance, or does it pull me away from it? This is not about suppressing desire, but about redirecting its immense energy toward the only goals that can never be taken from you. So bring to mind one of your own strong desires, perhaps for a new possession or for a specific outcome. Look at it with gentle curiosity. Where did this want truly come from? And does its fulfillment actually lead toward the person you most wish to become, or merely toward a temporary feeling that will soon demand another fix? Virtue itself is a habit, a practiced pattern of choosing wisely again and again. Aristotle, whose ideas deeply shaped later Stoic thought, defined excellence not as a single act but as a habit. We are what we repeatedly do, he noted, framing our character as the sum of our daily, often unconscious choices. This is where reflective discipline finds its ultimate power, not as an occasional exercise, but as the quiet architecture of your entire day. The Stoic morning and evening reviews are perfect examples of this, designed to be as automatic and essential as your first cup of water or locking the door at night. They transform conscious effort into ingrained instinct, ensuring your principles guide your actions even when you are not actively thinking about them. The goal is to make intention your default setting. To weave this practice seamlessly into your life, consider the modern strategy of habit stacking. This involves attaching a tiny new habit to one you already perform without fail. Think of your existing routine like brushing your teeth or waiting for your coffee to brew. In that brief window, you can stack a single minute of Stoic reflection. As you brush your teeth in the morning, you might mentally rehearse the day ahead, preparing your mind for potential challenges with calm resolve. Or while the kettle boils in the evening, you could glance over the day's events with a kind and questioning eye, asking where you were true to your values and where you might grow tomorrow. This method bypasses the need for immense willpower, embedding your philosophy into the very rhythm of your existence. The commitment is small, just 60 seconds, but its daily repetition forges a neural pathway of self-awareness that grows stronger with every passing day. So what is the one smallest reflective habit you could commit to for the next 30 days? It does not need to be profound, only consistent. Perhaps it is a single deep breath before checking your email, or a moment to recall one thing you are grateful for as you lie down to sleep. This tiny, repeated act is the seed from which an intentional life will steadily grow. Your personal struggles and triumphs are not isolated events, but vital threads in a vast, living tapestry. The Stoics called this interconnected reality Sympatheia, the profound understanding that we are part of a single, breathing organism. Marcus Aurelius beautifully captured this when he wrote that all things are intertwined with one another. A sacred bond exists between them, and almost none are unconnected to one another. This is not a poetic metaphor, but a practical lens for viewing your place in the world. When you reflect on this deep connection, your sense of self expands from a solitary individual to a conscious cell in the body of humanity. This shift in perspective naturally fosters a sense of duty and compassion, transforming your decisions from self-centered choices into contributions to the whole. Consider the simple, personal decision to reduce your household waste. On the surface, it is a small act of inconvenience, but through the lens of Sympatheia, it becomes a meaningful gesture toward the larger body. The plastic bottle you choose not to buy is one less piece of material that might travel to a distant ecosystem. The food you carefully consume instead of discarding acknowledges the effort of those who grew it and conserves resources for the wider community. Your seemingly small action sends a quiet ripple through the entire interconnected system, affirming your role as a caring and responsible part of it. This week, perform one small, deliberate act that acknowledges your connection to others. It could be as simple as choosing a product with less packaging, offering a genuine compliment to a stranger, or consciously supporting a local business. In that single moment of intentional choice, you are not just completing a task, you are actively strengthening the sacred bond that ties us all together, living a more intentional life by recognizing that your well-being is inseparable from the well-being of the whole. These individual threads of discipline are not meant to exist in isolation. The morning preparation, the evening review, the journal, the cognitive pause, the view from above, each one is a single strand. Woven together day after day, they form a resilient fabric of character, a life that feels less like something that happens to you and more like something you are actively creating. Seneca observed that every habit and capability is confirmed and grows in its corresponding actions, that walking makes you walk better and running makes you a better runner. In the very same way, the daily practice of reflection in all its forms makes you more reflective. It builds the mental muscle of intention until it becomes your natural state of being. Consider how these practices might support each other in a single, challenging day. Your morning meditation prepares you for a difficult meeting, creating a mental space for patience. When the meeting becomes heated, the discipline of cognitive distancing allows you to see your frustration as a passing thought rather than a command to act. In the evening, you process the event in your journal, examining where you held to your principles and where you might improve next time. And finally, the view from above helps you release the remaining tension, seeing the conflict in the grand scheme of your life. No single practice carries the entire weight, but together they create a supportive structure for your growth. Do not feel you must master them all at once. The transformation is in the consistent repetition, not the perfect execution. Which one or two of these reflective disciplines calls to you most strongly right now? Perhaps it is the simple act of a nightly review or the practice of pausing before you speak. Choose that one and give it your gentle, daily attention. Let it become a faithful companion on your journey, and in time, you will find the other strands naturally weaving themselves into the tapestry of your days. A life of intention is not a destination you arrive at, but a path you walk with conscious awareness. This entire journey has been about one fundamental practice, Stoic reflective discipline, the deliberate and daily choice to examine your thoughts, your actions, and your judgments. It is the powerful alternative to living on autopilot, a way to reclaim your days from the grip of automatic reactions and align them with your deepest values of purpose and virtue. We have explored the essential tools for this work. The Dichotomy of Control teaches you to sort the chaos of experience, investing your energy only in what is truly yours to command. The View from Above offers a cosmic perspective, shrinking daily anxieties to their proper size, and the simple, steadfast rituals of morning and evening review transform each sunrise into an opportunity for preparation and each sunset into a lesson in gentle self-understanding. These are not separate tricks, but interconnected strands of a single, resilient rope you can hold onto when the currents of life grow strong. Marcus Aurelius, amid the immense responsibilities of leading an empire, left us with a powerful reminder. He wrote that it is never too late to take charge of your own mind, to claim the inner citadel that is your unassailable home. No matter what has come before, this present moment is always yours to begin again, to choose reflection over reaction. The intentional life is built one reflective moment at a time. It starts with a single pause, a single question, a single sentence written in a journal. We would love to hear which of these Stoic practices resonates most with you. Share in the comments one technique you plan to try, whether it is the evening review or the view from above. If this path of practical philosophy speaks to you, consider subscribing for more content that helps turn ancient wisdom into modern living. Your journey toward a more deliberate and peaceful life begins with your very next conscious choice.